Louisiana Raging Cajuns head coach Mike Desormeaux, part 2 on Locked On Sunbelt.
You are Locked On Sunbelt, your daily podcast on the Sunbelt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. I'm your host, Dave Schultz. We had such a thorough and in-depth conversation with Mike Desormeaux. I figured I would split it up into two parts. Yesterday, talking about, you got to love this, as far as I'm concerned, being more aggressive in the red zone. And today, we'll talk more about position battles that are not settled heading into camp, like the quarterback position is, how they can throw it more to the tight end, which, of course, is my concern. And then Mike Desormeaux, really thoughtful answer at the end about getting the job right around the Sunbelt Championship game in 2021, then having to recruit, then having to do the bowl game, and then recruit again, and then replace coaches in the transfer portal. And a lot was on his plate really fast. And he explains some maybe mistakes that they made for last season that they're not going to make here in 2023. So let's get at it. It is part 2 of my conversation with the Louisiana Raging Cajuns head coach Mike Desormeaux on Locked On Sunbelt. We're talking to Mike Desormeaux, Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. All right, so we talked about the quarterback position. Is right now we're heading with Ben Wooldridge heading into camp. What are some position battles that will be decided in camp?
There's quite a few. That's kind of it's kind of fun every year. When you go into camp, you still have a couple of them that are up there for grabs. I think the fifth O-line spot, is certainly going to be is going to be fun to see who ends up getting it. You got a bunch of guys that are competing for it.
Which spot is that specifically?
So, that's kind of right tackle is kind of what it is right now. So,
okay.
From Nate at left tackle to Jax at right guard, that's pretty solid right now. At right tackle, Quentin Williams, I think Quentin Williams coming out of spring was the guy who said, all right, well, he's got the lead right now in that position, the way he played. He had to have a little procedure, so he'll be out for fall camp. Now, he should be back right around game 1, but again, hoping's not a very good plan. You got to have,
right,
contingency plans there. So, you had George Jackson into there, Trent Murphy, who's a redshirt freshman. King McGowan was a guy that we really thought was going to take it, have the possibility to take it and run with it. I'm going to tell the rest of the media today, he's going to actually be out for the year. He had another foot injury, which is, just disappointed for him because he worked so hard to get back in this thing. But then also another option is Bryant Williams, another redshirt freshman at left tackle, where Nate could move over to right. So you got 3 guys going into camp that we're really excited about, and that's competition is just what makes everybody better, man. You can't replace it, and that those things make you go a little bit harder, and they kind of sharpen you up a little bit. So we got those 3 guys competing right now, and then Quentin, whenever he comes back, we expect to really be able to get back in the mix really quickly for us.
What about a wide receiver? You got a lot of turnover there, and you got a corner, at least one corner position open.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt. So at wide receiver, I think, we talked about the receiver room a little bit, and like with Pete and Jake, those guys have made plays. Jake last year had a really good year, and Pete throughout his career has made plays. That X receiver spot is really wide open right now. I think Harvey Broussard has really impressed players and coaches all summer. The true freshman from St. Martinville, Tavion Smith is probably going to move. We're going to move him back out to X. He's a veteran guy, a junior college transfer, played a lot of football, smart kid. He can go out there, he'll go play and go really do a good job for us there, and then, it's Rob Williams, it's time for Rob to go out there and go play to the level that he's capable of. So that's all at the X position, and I think at the H and the Z, what you're looking at is some young players that we've been excited about since last year. It's just last year we were pretty deep there. They just weren't going to play a whole lot. So, Charles Robertson from Zachary, he's been really impressive since he got here, had a great spring. Jaden Johnson from Fort Bend Marshall. Was a big physical inside receiver, really good hands. He reminds us a lot. We talk about him, reminds us a lot of Bam Jackson when Bam was here. That type of player. Dalen Cambry has been here and made plays in games for us. He's going to go out there and go work in the slot for us too. So you got a group of older guys you expect to go make the plays while some of these young guys fill it out and kind of we've let that thing start out and see who's ready to go this year. But we feel really good about what we got there. It's just, kind of figuring out who's going to be the 2, who's going to be the 3, and how much do they play. At corner, I think Caleb Anderson certainly at corner played really well last year, and there were times he started games last year and played well, and he's continued to just get better and better. I think, at field corner is kind of where you have, Amir McDaniel has played well last year. He's moving in and out, at nickel and at corner. Keon Martin is a guy who last year, got here and really just has worked through the process. And now he's in the point where you're like, man, this kid's playing really good right now. Glenn Brown is another one who transferred in from Southern University, a kid that we recruited out of high school. He's a senior. He's a graduate transfer. He's a guy that he's mature. He's here to come out here and come play and come help this team win. So you got quite a few guys at corner competing. Shadwell and Kuba is another one, that junior college guy who we just got here in June. He's done a really good job this summer. You got 2 freshmen that, the reason we took some of these older guys at corner is we have some talented freshmen. That's just a tough spot to play when you're a freshman, at corner.
Yeah,
sure is. And you can ruin them. But Lorenzel Dubose is going to be a stud. Jeremiah Moses is going to be a really good player. We just wanted to make sure, we're not going to try to throw those guys to the wolves just yet. We want to make sure they're ready for that. One day they will be. If it's this year, it's even better. But, we just felt like we wanted to get a couple older guys in there just so those guys didn't, kind of have to find out the hard way. We can let them grow up the right way here.
All right, let's take a timeout. We'll move away from the wide receivers and go to where the offense should be focused on, the tight ends, when we get back and continue our conversation with Mike Desormeaux. Let me tell you a little bit about LinkedIn Jobs. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. Add your job in the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right, Dave Schultz back on Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. A couple of more segments with the head coach of the Ragin' Cajuns, Mike Desormeaux. He talks how valuable and maybe how vital the tight ends are going to be this year for the Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns. All right, a quick follow-up. You didn't mention that your leading returning receiver is the tight end, Neil Johnson. We got to exploit that, Coach. You know how much I love tight ends.
Yeah, we're not going to play Neil. We're going to move him to defense this year. We're not going to put him in the ball
all right, let's wrap it up here. Yeah, go ahead.
He's just been fun, from the time he got here, to you saw the potential that he had early on, and for him to, really to get to the point where now you're talking about a significant season that I think he's on the verge of having. You're just, it's fun when it works out that way. There's so many kids that come in with promise and with potential and it never turns into anything. And like, that's the most disappointing thing. So to see him come in and say, wow, this guy came in, he never played tight end in his life, starts as a true freshman, and right. Plays every year. And I mean, now he's grown into a leader on the offense. He's a guy, I talked about Pete and Jake, but, I've talked to Neil quite a bit, and really talked to him about the way that we need him to stuff. Like, it's not just making the plays that come to you, which is kind of what our tight end position has been a little bit. Like, when the ball comes to you, just, make the play. And he needs to make plays this year. And Pete, Jake, Neil, those are the three known playmakers in our offense in the pass game. Those are the three guys that throughout their careers have made catches, big games, have made a lot of those plays. They are downfield threats. They need to carry the weight early on. And that way, there's another really talented young tight end there, Terrence Carter. Pierce Meagle is a senior that's back, and Pierce has played great football for us. We talked about the other receivers, Harvey, Jaden, Charles, all these guys, AJ J-Row. I don't think I even mentioned AJ, who got here in January. Those kids are talented like they are. They're really going to be good players. We just got to let them grow up, and it's going to have to be fast, just because the season's right here around the corner. But, Neil needs to play a big role in it. And, we've explored a lot of ways to get the tight ends the ball. I think last year we did a little bit better job maybe than what we used to. This spring, we did an off-season study on tight end catches and things like that, because, you got a couple guys there that are unique players. And when you have unique players, it's college football. You don't get them for a long time. It's not the NFL. Right. There's no 10-year contracts. It's when you have them, you better use them. So Neil for sure is a guy that we want and we need to have a big year for us.
Completely agreed. I'm only disappointed that I was not brought in on the tight end study. I could have told you how that was going to go before you started it. All right, let's take one more time out. When we come back to wrap things up with Mike Desormeaux, he talks about correcting mistakes from year one and getting them right in year two. Let me tell you a little bit about eBay Motors. For a championship team, it's all about making sure every player is a perfect fit. It's the same when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to fit just right. So the next time you need parts and accessories, head to eBay Motors. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, you can be sure every part you need fits right the first time around. Just add your ride to My Garage and look for the green check to know the part will fit or your money back. Because just like in sports, confidence is the name of the game when you shop on eBay Motors. And with over 122 million parts to choose from, you'll be back in the game in no time. After all, it's easy to bring home a win when the right parts are guaranteed. Get the right parts, the right fit, and the right prices on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. All right, before we get back to Mike Desormeaux, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. Again, thanks very much. We're off to a great start for our race for 500 subscriptions by opening day. I think we've had 16 in the first 3 days of August, and that was before, this premiered in the morning. So thank you so much for that. We will get to 500. I'm very confident in that. Remember, not only can you subscribe, please do so on YouTube, but you can find Locked On Sunbelt wherever you get your audio podcast, whether it be Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, iHeart, wherever you get them. Just search Locked On Sunbelt, and you'll be able to find us. All right, let's wrap things up with the head coach of the Ragin' Cajuns football team, Mike Desormeaux. He talks about trying to correct mistakes from year number one and don't repeat them in year two. Let's wrap up with Mike Desormeaux, head coach of the Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns. All right, so when Clay Helton got the Georgia Southern job, he got it, with the season still going and wasn't being rushed, moving his family across the country. He had a chance to look at the team. You're coming up from the staff, but not only were you on the staff, you're from Acadiana. You were the Cajuns head coach. You were coaching high school football before you joined the staff. What was it like for you in year one, going from, being a local product, now being the head coach? And how can you, get better here in year two?
Yeah, year one it just all happened. It just happened so fast, and it was just kind of one thing into the next. And I find out, on Sunday we announced that I'm getting the job after the conference championship. We literally had a staff meeting for an hour and a half for me to figure out what coaches were still here, what coaches were staying here, to make a recruiting plan, because we were on the road the next day to go recruiting, and then to talk about the official visit that we were going to have the following weekend starting on Friday, because everyone's going on the road, going separate ways. So that's how it starts. You have an hour and a half meeting, and you have to do all these things. So then you're on the road, you come back, then you get back. It's bowl game preparation. We had a lot of things going on around the bowl game that, kind of never really get into. But, you go through the bowl game. So you finally win that. You think you can take a breath, and then bang, it's the transfer portal, and it's the coaches that you lost that you didn't think were leaving. All these things just kind of kept happening, and then it rolls over to January recruiting, right? Then you're trying to put together a signing class because you lost a couple in that signing class. You lost more players, trying to figure out how many you need. So you get into January and you just keep running. And I think kind of all of that, I didn't take the time. I didn't make the time, I guess I should say, to really kind of reflect on what I wanted to do that offseason with that team, as far as the strength and conditioning and just the way that was structured, because that team that we had last year was a totally different football team than what we had the 2 previous years.
Right.
2 previous years were extremely veteran, guys that had been here a long time, and our offseason program was really good for them. Our guys last year and needed some changes. They needed more strength work. They needed more, more weight room stuff than what we used to do. And, kind of wasn't until we got in the spring ball that I realized, like, oh my goodness, I made the mistake that I said I'd never make. I kind of said, well, we're going to do this is what we used to do. So we're going to do it. And I was kicking myself in the butt because I knew that it was too late at that point to go back.
Right.
So once it probably really wasn't until we got to spring football last year that it finally slowed down, and it felt like, okay, there's time to reflect on things and to look at it. And, in year 2, it's been, continuity has been good. Our roster stayed intact, really way better than it did last year. Our coaching staff, we're one of 7 staffs in Division I football to not lose a single assistant coach. We're the only one in the Sun Belt. You have a lot of players that are coming back that have played significant snaps. It's like, we're connected right now in a way where last year we were trying to figure it out a little bit. And I mean, shoot, I was, I tell the players and staff, I'm the first one to say, yeah, I was trying to figure it out too. It was all spinning, going pretty fast for a little while. And, you're drinking out of a fire hose is what, the term they use, but that's really what it felt like. And, so there was just a lot of things, going on that, I think one of the things hiring people in college, as a college head coach is one of the things that I didn't realize was going to be that hard. It seems like everybody wants to get into college athletics. And I'm not even just talking about position coaches. I'm talking about any job that you've got.
That's right.
It's dozens, hundreds sometimes of emails and texts and calls and, for positions that, you think, wow, I can't believe there's that much interest in it. So that type of stuff that, you have to do it, but you don't realize how time consuming that is. And really, at certain points, how stressful that can be. All that stuff was just, you gotta learn on the run a little bit. And I certainly made mistakes. I'm as critical of myself though, I think, as anybody ever could be. And, we've worked really hard this offseason to remedy some of these things and to make sure that we're doing the best thing for this football team. And, I just can't wait because, we're about to get started here, a little bit later today. And I know that we have a really talented young team. I mean, it's a lot of sophomores and a lot of juniors, but it's a lot of kids that have played a lot. So it's fun because I feel like the ceiling can be really high for this team. But those experiences have to pay off this year. And we as coaches have to put them in positions to, to feel like there's something on the line, to feel like there's a little bit of pressure in practice. And, I'm excited about it because every year you go into camp and my goodness, if you're not excited about it right now and you don't feel like, you're not optimistic, then it's going to be a terrible year for you. If you can't feel good about what you got right now. And we certainly do.
He's Mike Desormeaux, head coach of Louisiana Ragin Cajuns. Really appreciate your time. Incredibly generous, incredibly forthcoming. We're looking forward to it, Coach. We will see you at Ragin Cajuns Media Day, and best of luck this season. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Dave.